Hello, everybody. How is everybody doing? Hopefully, everybody's doing good and enjoying the summer. It's finally cooled down, so it is looking not too bad, at least weather-wise. Weather's looking not too shabby. Hopefully, everybody's doing good. Got a nice drink going on. Hopefully, grab yourself a nice cup of, I don't know what people are drinking. I got myself a nice little drink. Got myself instant milk tea to go alongside while the stream is going on. But yeah, hopefully everybody's doing good. What you see on my screen is just a little stand-in image before we jump into the actual topic, which is the K-Pop Demon Hunters style study stream. But just a little shout out to the XPPen workshop that I did for Chinese opera singers not too long ago. But hello, and everybody, welcome to the stream. We're gonna change it up a little bit in terms of just how the order of things are going to go. We're actually gonna jump right in and begin with our kind of weekly art challenge shoutouts. So if you guys don't know, every month there is a new challenge, and this month was the month of August, so it starts with the letter A, and so therefore the challenge for this month was animals. And so we're gonna just jump right into it and give a shout out to our community and those who kind of submit for this challenge. And the first one that we have up is by Gray, and here they've submitted a few drawings of some animals over here that I thought were like really nice. We got some traditional mixed with some digital, and then also mixed with some, I guess, traditional painting overall here. So yeah, got a really cool, exciting mix of some pieces. And so again, thank you, Gray, for submitting. I think you did some awesome pieces here. And then the next one is by Castle. Also some digital painting, it seems, but got some really cool brush strokes and textures going on with the what looks like a lynx or a cat, and then we got some kind of bird. I'm not an animal expert, so sorry for not knowing what kind of birds or species these are, but or the breed, I guess. But yeah, these look awesome. Really cool textures and colors for your painting. So thank you, Gray, or not Gray, sorry. Thank you, Castle, for submitting. And then lastly, we got one by CY, who posted this kind of cat character type of drawing here. So I thought it was really cool. Got some really nice pencil or pen work and line work going on this drawing. So thank you, Sai, for submitting, and thank you everybody for submitting your pieces. So again, just if in case you didn't know, every month we do a monthly challenge for our art challenge for our community in Discord. So if you want to be a part of that, go to our Discord, and if you go into the art challenge section, you will find a spot for you to submit your animal drawings. And there's still a few more weeks left for August, so feel free to throw in your drawings, and who knows, maybe you'll be like these lucky 3 members, or not members, but are part of our community, people who are part of our community who've submitted, and who you might be lucky like them and get a little shout out during our live stream. So again, thank you everybody for submitting your pieces. Yeah, we're gonna jump into the intro. So again, welcome everybody to the stream, and glad you all are able to make it to tonight's stream. It's gonna be a really good one. But hello, my name is Josh, and welcome. I'm gonna be the one hosting the stream for tonight. And if you don't know who I am, I'm one of the instructors at a school called Wing Canvas. And we here at Wing Canvas, our mission is to make art education easily accessible to everyone. So join our free live stream lessons on YouTube every week and level up your skills with our community of art nerds. And we're more than just a YouTube channel. We're an online school of illustration and visual storytelling dedicated to helping artists turn their passion into income. And a huge shout out to our amazing students and members for supporting our mission. We love seeing your incredible artwork and watching you grow in our classes and weekly critiques. And if you want to dive deeper, join our Discord and access stream notes and demos and exclusive artwork, art challenges, and more free resources to help you improve. So come connect with our fellow art nerds and get inspired. And Also, we'd like to thank our sponsor for this stream, XPPen, who have an amazing, awesome selection of digital art tablets for both beginner and advanced artists. If you're looking for an affordable and reliable digital tablet, go browse their store. You'll find the link in the description below. So thank you, XPPen, for sponsoring this stream. We really appreciate it. And with that being said, we're just going to jump into the current topic. So, as you guys can see by the topic of our stream, tonight I'm going to be doing a K-pop Demon Hunters style study. And based on everybody's votes, we are going to be doing the Tiger and Birdie kind of character study. Now, if we do have some time, I might maybe add in a character or so, but we'll see. Depends on how it goes. I'm more of like a character artist, so I'm not usually one to just go right in and draw animals, but I guess it's kind of fitting since this month is the month of animals for the art challenge, and I feel like I could probably just jump right in and do some animal studies. So yeah, this would be kind of cool. Oh yeah, and for those who are wondering, I see that someone has asked what kind of device I'm using, and yeah, there we go. Nightbot very nicely has put up what device I'm using, and yeah, it's been working really well. If people who have like never or is interested in buying a tablet, this one's really good because it's got some buttons on the side, and I feel like you can always use with like more buttons on the side and everything. So yeah, I would highly recommend this one. I've like allocated different buttons and shortcuts for this, so it's gonna be it makes things really easy when you're drawing. So yeah, animals are my favorite things to draw. Well, Jess, it's a lucky thing that it's the one that won. And I had a feeling. I was like, I'm more of like a person. I like drawing people, but I feel like the cat's gonna win. Like the cat, there's no way the cat does not win. So if you have not watched the movie yet, no spoilers, don't worry. But there is this cat tiger character who's, I guess, loosely based on some parts of Korean kind of folklore, I think. I'm not too sure, but I do remember hearing that someone said that it is based on like Korean lore and mythology and everything. So it's not just like a regular tiger. I did not do too much research on like the background of like where this tiger would be from and what kind of tiger it is, but it is a tiger, the character that shows up in the show that kind of helps out our main character, Rumi. And it's a pretty goofy character, as you could probably see based on like the screenshots here, as well as some of the concept art drawn by Rad Seacrest over here. If you guys want to check out his work, I think this is actually, let me check, hopefully I didn't spell his name wrong, but he worked on this movie and he has like an awesome art style. He's very stylized, and he has a very simple way of drawing things. But yeah, Rad Seacrest. I was almost about to say Ryan Seacrest, but check him out. He's got some like really cool artwork. But yeah, this is some concept artwork that I found from him. And yeah, going back to the cat, if you've never watched the movie before, the cat's a little bit goofy. He's a little bit weird, but he's really adorable, and he looks intimidating at first when he first shows up on screen. And but he's actually super lovable and adorable. So we're gonna draw him in this very bizarre, he's kind of, you know, in the cat type of pose and everything. And we're gonna draw him at a 3/4 looking up, because why not try get it in that really funky angle to see how it goes. And just gonna draw like a quick rough base for how this character might be posed in this way, and we'll kind of adjust it from there. Actually, I don't even know what kind of pause he has. The pause that he has seem very like minimal. Oops. He doesn't have like a full paw set, it seems like. I like drawing people too. That's true. You know what? I should have put Genu. I should have put Genu as one of the options. There's only so many options in the YouTube poll that you can put in. So for those who don't know, the reason why we're drawing a tiger, if you're wondering like why are you not just going ahead and drawing the girls if you want to draw characters, is because I put out a poll for this stream just to see what people wanted me to draw, and the tiger is the one that won, and so that's why we're drawing the tiger. And but like I said, if we have time, maybe I will draw Zoe, since Zoe was the last one that won, or maybe I'll draw Genu just because the cat technically kind of belongs, or I don't know, it interacts with Genu, who's like the male antagonist kind of character who shows up in the movie, and the cat seems to be bonded to him. And maybe we'll put the nose a little bit over. But yeah, this cat is funny. I remember when he first showed up, I was laughing. I found like the humor that they gave the cat kind of reminded me a little bit of like Baymax from Big Hero 6. It's like just kind of derpy and a little bit like innocent and doesn't really know what's kind of going on, and kind of just is moving around and kind of fumbling along as he goes. Yeah. He has like a really big head, and I don't know if the head would like kind of squish in, or would it kind of like move, or maybe I can have it be like this. Hand comes in, and then we have the feet. Maybe we could have the foot here. But yeah, if anybody has any questions while I'm drawing for tonight's stream, let me know, and try to do my best to answer it. Also, does he have a tail? He does have a tail. Not Ryan Seacrest. Oh yeah, I know. It's like it's so close to saying Seacrest. I said we need a part 2 with the Saja Boimura. The average cat behavior. Yeah, I know. I forget that this character is... I think the character is just generally based on the creator's cat. So if you go on his Instagram, he, like where I have found this image on, he apparently based this off of his own like kind of grouchy looking cat and everything. So I feel like that kind of makes sense. Typical cat behavior. Although I don't have a cat, so I can't confirm if this is typical cat behavior. But this feels like how a cat would kind of be posed. A little bit kind of goofy and derpy. I feel like I should draw like a butterfly or something, and have him just like look at the butterfly. And just like a little butterfly over here, and he's just like, it's like, what? Yeah, his eyes are also kind of funny. They move at a separate kind of pacing, so it's like his eyes are a little bit delayed. Like one will maybe look in the right direction, and then the other one is like slightly off. So if you're kind of like, why are his eyes looking a little bit skewed? It's not because I'm doing it, well, I'm doing it on purpose, but I'm doing it because that's actually kind of how his eyes move. So it has a reason, not to just randomly draw it in that way. But yeah, he's a really chunky cat, so trying to get that chunkiness in the design. But he also has like, what's kind of cool about his shape, and you can kind of see in the way Rad Seacrest drew it here, is that the cat has like a very simplified form and shape. So I'm gonna try to keep that when I draw it. But How do you draw animals? Oh, that's true too. Yeah, I did say that beforehand. This character might be based on like Korean folklore, but that's kind of what I just heard. Don't don't take my word for it completely, but it's just what I heard like in passing. But I feel like that would make sense since like so much of the movie has a lot of kind of lore, Korean folklore put into it. Not folklore, but just kind of like, yeah, I guess in a way folklore or like mythology, not mythology, but like, you know what I mean, like the myths put into like it, like with the demons, the way the characters are designed, the types of demons that show up. A lot of it is not. It's look if you kind of look at and pay attention to some of the designs that are there, it's not like exactly the same as maybe how Japanese demons would be or how Chinese demons look. Like there are very distinct kind of forms and shapes that I feel like slightly separate the different kind of like even just in general Asian culture. The design languages, the colors that are there are a little bit different. Someone with a living cat, that is a cat pose. Oh yeah, thank you. I get glad that it gives off the right cat vibes because I don't have a cat. I have a dog, but a lot of people have kind of been like, your dog's kind of like a cat. So maybe you know that's why I can still get a little bit of some of the personality through with the drawing. Um, I'm just not too sure how the leg would be. I know that with like black cats, I've tried to draw black cats before, and I feel like when I've drawn black cats, their legs and bodies kind of like fold in on each other, like the forms kind of disappear a little bit. It feels like. And so I'm kind of like not too sure how the leg would kind of disappear, but I feel like it would mold in nicely with the body. And oh, I guess this would maybe be like here. Maybe I should see if I can find a shot where he is crouching like this. But I feel like that might be a bit hard because he doesn't have too many shots. The one that I'm kind of basing it on is the one right here. But it looks like his front half of the body actually might be bigger and wider. Now that I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh, his chest area is actually quite large. Also, yeah, I did see a question where it's like, how do I draw animals? With this tiger character, I'm definitely relying more on the characteristics of like a cat to kind of help guide the way I'm drawing this character. But I think that's also like a good way to kind of start is to always just find research. So like I said in the beginning of the stream, if you missed it though, I did say that I'm not particularly someone who draws animals. It's very rare for me to draw animals, but I have drawn animals here and there. But over time, what I've kind of noticed is that there are certain, just like drawing people, there are certain patterns for drawing different animals, and every animal is going to have a different kind of posture, different kind of, I guess, behavior in the way that they pose, and so it's a good idea to, when you're studying an animal, to kind of pick up like what are the kind of postures or expressions that this animal makes, and how can you capture it. So for this one, in this case, because a tiger is very much like a cat, I'm relying a lot on kind of the silhouetted shape that a cat has, because a cat, their body is very flexible, it's very nimble, they kind of combine and flow into each other after a while, and they kind of create this like really uniform triangular shape when they're just kind of sitting there. So I kind of wanted to try to capture that in this pose here, trying to capture that really like smooth silhouette that a cat has. So if you ever look at a cat, they have a very short muzzle, and then their head and their body kind of instantly connects to their foot and then over into the back like this. Something like that. Again, I'm not a cat expert. I don't draw it too often, but you can see that like if I drew it like this, you can kind of already get an idea of like this is a cat, even though maybe it's like a little bit off. But cats have this very unique kind of silhouette in their pose, and I'm trying to get this similar silhouette. Like dogs kind of have it, but it's not as smooth as a cat does. Like a cat like their neck towards their back, and then the body and the head, like the way the head connects to the back and the chin connects to the front of the body, I feel like it's smoother and is a little bit more like it flows into it a little bit nicely, whereas a dog is a little bit more angular and has a little bit more like obvious sections and segments to differentiate like the shoulder blade and the rib cage and like the chest a little bit more. And so I'm taking a similar principle that a cat would have, or principles that I've noticed from a cat, and I'm attaching it to this tiger character. So even though we don't have the tiger in this pose in any of these references, or even I think like in the movie itself, when I try looking for it, I can't particularly find it. But I'm using this to kind of help inform how to draw the tiger. But we'll see. I feel like it's looking not too bad. Like I feel like it matches the tiger kind of vibe. Give it a bit of but yeah, just gonna kind of continue and give it a bit of some definition. But yeah, just looking at the way the hand is positioned in this image, and even if I look here, I can see that they kind of didn't go for a very defined paw. I feel like they tried to smoothen it out as much as they could, but it's probably still there. It's just way less defined. And let me see, there's like 4 paws. So this is something that I would say is a very core skill of being an artist, is learning how to just deconstruct. So instead of drawing all the nuances right off the gate, I'm just kind of observing like, oh, how are the paws positioned here? How many paws or claw kind of fingers are there on this tiger character? And how are they broken down? Are they very, very like defined? So sometimes a tiger's paw, you might see people draw it like this, where each toe is very defined and then the claws come out. But I feel like with the cat or the tiger character, everything's very streamlined, very simplified. And so because of that, and I noticed that style flowing throughout the design of this tiger, I'm like, okay, there's probably a high chance that this tiger's claws and paws are actually going to be very, very subtle, and we're probably not going to see too much of it over there. And I feel like this is looking closer and closer like the tiger. I feel like I could see this character doing this. Also, we got to add in the bird too. Don't worry, didn't forget the bird. I know that in the votes I put tiger and birdie, so I know I will have to put the birdie afterwards, but I will include it after. And also, this is just the rough stage, so maybe I'll write that down so we kind of know. We're doing a little bit of the rough stage, and you know what? We're doing pretty good on time. It's 9:30, and we still got about an hour and a half, so I feel like we're still doing pretty good in time. Japanese demons could never. What color a cat? True, we're gonna have to color this blue afterwards too. I think we're gonna go for a more flat, kind of treat this almost like a concept art. I feel like that'd be really cool. Is more nurture than nature. Oh, I feel like that could be true. Yeah, dogs have a bit more nurture vibe. Cats a bit more based on their nature. When do you actually have to trace something, whether it is learning or not? Tracing, you can always trace to learn. When you're tracing something to learn, always try to trace the don't just trace the image or the drawing itself. So maybe I'll give a little, since we got a little bit of time. So if I were to learn, like, let's say the style here, I wouldn't do this to trace and follow. At least maybe not right from the beginning, because this is not going to teach you anything. This is going to just teach you how to trace. And maybe it'll improve your line work if that's something that you want to kind of focus on. So maybe you can practice tracing. But when it comes to tracing an image to learn, I would say try to learn how to simplify the form. So when I look at this, it's like, oh, I see an oval here. This is where he drew kind of like, let's say, the skull or the cranium of the cat or the tiger. And then the next thing I would do is like, okay, where did he place the center line? And I would always look at where the nose is, and then look at where the middle of the chin is, and then also a little bit in between the brows. And so this gives you a trajectory to look for. And you basically just connect the dots. You just connect the trajectory. And then once you have this form, you can then map out where the chin is going to be. And so again, I'm just only using very streamlined images, or not images, streamlined shapes, very simplified forms and shapes. And I'm also going to connect the eyes. And this already gives me a lot of information. It tells me the proportions, it tells me generally the shapes that this artist is using to deconstruct their creature, and it also tells me how they're turning the shape of the head. So if I draw the exact same shape down here, or not, well, you know, like an oval type shape down here, I can rotate it this way and have it be like this, and it'll give me a completely different form and shape for this character to use. And you can already kind of tell that just by having an oval and a center line and an eye line, it already gives so much more information than just trying to trace an image. So when I'm tracing to learn, I'm always trying to trace and try to understand the underlying forms rather than the details that are there. And that's kind of how I essentially started this one, just to kind of maybe break down my own drawing, and kind of to show you what I was kind of working with. Maybe we can lower the value a little bit. I basically started the drawing, if you guys were here right from the beginning. I know that not everybody was able to make it right from the beginning, but right off the bat, when I looked at like these reference images from the movie, I was like, oh, he has like a very wide head. Like that stood out to me a lot. And so I started off with a very oval type shape, and then I worked in the center line to figure out the height and the tilt of the head. And then after that, I mapped out like, oh, the shape of the body. Again, going back to the cat silhouette. So I was like, okay, I want this kind of very bumpy, and like mark the hands and the feet and roughly all that, and slowly build it out. And so what we have right here is based off of just simply this. And then I cleaned it up over the rough over some time. But tracing is always a good way to deconstruct and learn the behind the scenes. So a lot of people like to trace and just trace the line work and the drawing, and they'll be like, oh, well, I'm gonna learn the artist's line work. And that's a good way of practicing if you want to copy the style exactly to a T. But I would say that it's more beneficial to understand what's the drawing, let's say, theory or philosophy or intention of the artist, and how did the artist deconstruct their drawing before adding in the details. Now, obviously, not everybody is going to be doing that, but it is a very good way to kind of understand the mindset of the artist and how they were approaching something. But yeah, it's a good question. Tracing is always like something that I recommend to students, especially when they feel like they're a bit stuck on their style or their pose, and they're not really too sure how to improve or move on. But yeah, I always recommend that they do some tracing of their favorite images to learn how their favorite artists are approaching things. And if you're kind of like, wait, I thought tracing was bad. Tracing is bad if you're trying to just copy the style and not do anything with it. But I think it's totally fine, and it's totally okay if you're tracing to simply learn and improve, but later on you expand on it with your own approach and your own style, so that you're not just simply copying what somebody has done beforehand. Excuse me. Let's see. I feel like we got some stripes here. It's a little bit hard to tell exactly how the stripes are formed on this character, but I think I'm just gonna kind of do it based on the flow and the feel of this character. So not gonna be too stingy on having it be exactly like it. And also one other thing, I guess this would be kind of a good place to mention it, is proportion, or not proportions, but perspective. So this was something that I demonstrated for my illustration class last week in camp, and if you're struggling with making your characters have a bit of dimension, just consider overlap. So if I were to draw a circle and a triangle and a circle over here, this tells me nothing about the placement of these objects. I mean, it kind of does, but I feel like it's too flat. There is no volume or there's no perspective with this. But if I simply just move the square up, have the circle be a little bit lower, and then have the triangle be like here, this already tells me a lot more than it did previously. And for a lot of what perspective generally is, it's a lot of just height and overlap. So if I just simply have objects at a different height and they're overlapped like this, so it's like 1, 2, 3, then I already kind of have an understanding that this square is sitting here, the circle is sitting in front of the square, and then the triangle is sitting in front of the circle. And so this is so much more descriptive of the space than it is of this, because everything on this one is just on the same flat plane. Now, why am I bringing this up? The reason why I'm bringing this up is because if you're drawing an animal or even just a character in general, thinking about the placement of all of the elements or components of that creature or character is going to make your characters feel like they're actually standing in three-dimensional space. So right now I have the character's tail up here, and then I have the back foot over here, and now that I marked that, I kind of like, maybe I should push it back a little bit more. And then I have the body over here. Now the fluff kind of flows from here down, so that's why the fluff is here. And then this thing is also part of the body as well, so they all sit roughly in the same line. And then I have my two front paws roughly in the same position, which I think is totally fine, because I feel like the cat characters generally have this kind of structure or flow to them. And then I have my back foot that's also on its own plane, and then the butt on its own plane as well. So you can see that because everything is placed at a different plane, it makes the character or the cat feel like it's actually sitting on a three-dimensional depth rather than just a flat ground. But that's kind of what I was doing here, and what I was checking for my drawing to make sure that the character feels like it has a lot of depth to how they're sitting. But yeah, hopefully this kind of helps a little bit for you guys as you guys are improving and drawing more. I feel like this is pretty good. I think this is a good kind of go at it. I could probably start it. Let me see. Ah, dang, he didn't draw the tail tip. I don't know how the stripes are for the tail. Let me see if I can find an extra image of the cat. Let's see the tail. Oh, this one has the tail. Okay. I'm just simply on Pinterest, and I want to see how the tail is positioned, or how the tail is rendered. So it looks like they have, most of the tip is shaded in. And then there's like a big stripe here, and then tinier stripes around it, pretty much all the way around, I think. and they're kind of in these like cat, you know, they're kind of like this design for them, so I'm trying to emulate that throughout the drawing. And I feel like there might be actually some stripes that come down, because when he's folded here, you can kind of see it on the elbow. So I kind of want to include that there. Yeah, I don't think we'll see any of the stripes show up. Or, well, maybe we could put one here. Oh, and then I did not include the other teeth, so let me put in the other teeth. I feel like this is gonna be a little tricky to do. Let me see if I can find another image. Perspective-wise, I feel like he has a lot of tricky angles that I would have to kind of deal with. Maybe we'll just make his mouth open a little bit more. He's so derpy. I love how derpy he is. He's just like so like what are these expressions that you have? But it's great. I love it. It's like a bigger, or I guess this kind of maybe goes in here. So the lower lip maybe covers some of the teeth. It's like vampire teeth. Maybe I made them too long. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. And then we'll add Birdie. So Birdie usually just sits on top of his head. So maybe we'll just have the Birdie character just chilling like here. Maybe it's also gonna look up at the butterfly, but it's not gonna really do anything about it. It's just like, yeah, that's a, there goes a butterfly, whoop-de-doo. You know, it's like, yeah, it's just a butterfly, nothing special to it. Oh, that's kind of cool. The design of the bird is actually really smartly designed with this body piece over here. Actually kind of cool. It gives it a sense of dimension while also maintaining the simplified forms that are there. It's kind of cool. I never noticed that. Yeah, and this bird has 3 eyes. It's like a demon bird. It's gonna be looking up at our butterfly. We'll probably move this butterfly over. And yes, for anybody who's just joining, and if you were like, oh no, I missed like a good chunk of it, or I missed some of the things he mentioned, and I wanted to rewind it, don't worry, these live streams go on to VOD afterwards, so you can rewatch them even after the stream is done. And oh, hello Fruity, glad you're able to drop in. Kind of reminds me of Toothless. Yeah, that's true. It does have a bit of that, like, that vibe as well. Really cool firehouse and animation, but I like the cat a lot. Yeah, that bathhouse fight scene, it was a really cool sequence. Actually, like when when I think about it, that's like a really chaotic sequence in terms of like there's so much happening in that scene, but you still know exactly kind of what's happening. So it's kind of neat. It's done really well. I feel like the cat's head's not big enough. it's too normal. So we gotta bump up the sizing of it. Like it's gotta look much larger. And then we gotta make the bird much smaller. Bird is now too big. There we go. Okay, I want to say that this is pretty close to good. I think I could probably start the cleanup on this. Probably just go ahead and do the line work as well. We're gonna go for a very thin line work, so if you guys have never seen me do line work before, maybe I'll show you one that I did for the XPPen one not too long ago. So this was a workshop that I had, was it on Thursday? Last Thursday? So we're gonna go for line work kind of similar to this, very thin, kind of textured. And we're not gonna do too much thick and thin, but just whenever possible, we'll kind of add it in. But yeah. All the fight scenes are done really well. Oh yeah, I also agree. Like that, the fight scenes in that movie are just like really well done. Okay, so we're gonna go and draw this character. I actually feel like maybe we'll put in like a dark blue color. I feel like that would be good. Okay, so the pen, if you guys do want to follow along, oh yeah, that's a good point, Vin. Thanks for pointing that out. If you want more details, XPPen workshops can be found on Discord. But yeah, if anybody's interested in kind of drawing in a somewhat similar style, or they're curious about the brushes that I'm using, the brush that I was doing this rough sketch in is a brush called this, Charcoal Pencil Medium. Actually, this is the default. But I adjusted the settings a little bit so that it works a little bit better for how I like to draw. And I would always encourage that if you're ever like using a default brush and you're like, it's so close to being perfect, don't be afraid to adjust it in the brush settings option that is found up here next to your brush icon. So in the upper left corner, you can find brush settings, and always feel free to play around with the settings over here. So if you ever find that your brushes don't exactly maybe put down opacity, or the size change isn't exactly the way you like it, play around with the settings here, and it might turn out to be the exact way that you want it to after you adjust a few things. But the one that I'm going to be using for the cleanup is this ballpoint pen, or ink ball pen, that they recently added in their updates, and I don't know, there's something about it where it just looks really good. It's perfect for how I like to draw. I would say maybe the size fluctuation, or the the way the brush changes size is a little bit too subtle, but I think it's awesome. It's a really nice, really nice brush. And it's like great for putting thin line work while also having a little bit of texture still, so it's great. And we're just gonna line the lion. We're just gonna clean up the line work, and I'm gonna see if there's any like extra little bits of details we can add. Looks like for the most part there's no fur that sticks out. He's like a very cleanly drawn, or a cleanly shaped tiger. And so we're going to be rotating this a lot to kind of match the line work together. And like I said, we're not going to be focusing too much on like thick or thin lines. We're just going to go with like very thin lines all the way through. Smooth lines, very smooth brush. Absolutely. Love me having some nice smooth lines. That's always like my thing. I would say that I love line work more than colors. So for this one, the final piece is probably going to be focused more on the kind of just the drawing of the character, rather than the kind of the rendering of the character. I'm kind of just getting these nice drawings in. Let's see. The ear is tilted a little bit, so we'll probably draw in the shape of this in. I don't think we need the black that shows up. Actually, if it's these black markings, I might actually just put them in through the brush itself. I always love this kind of style because it adds a nice little bit of weight change to the brush and the line work. That adds a nice little like contrast and weight change, and it's really, really nice. I really love this style and approach to line work. So yeah, that's pretty much it for the drawing piece. I'll try to zoom out and in and out, not too much. Although I do that a lot because I like the precision of the lines, so apologies in advance for zooming in and out maybe a little bit too much, but I do need it for drawing. Derpy, hey, yeah. Oh, also, yeah, if anybody is enjoying the stream, definitely drop a like, and if you want to keep updated with our streams, definitely subscribe. We're always posting updates and kind of scheduling our streams so you know ahead of time as to like what's possibly coming up. So if you want to be notified and know what streams we're going to be doing next, subscribing is kind of like the best way to do it. Not only does it help us out, it also lets you know when we're going to be streaming and what we're going to be streaming. So if there's a particular topic that you like, you'll be notified of when that might be happening. The other thing too is that we always put polls, and so if you always are like, oh, how come you're drawing this tiger character? It was because of our polls and because the audience voted for this tiger character. So if you want to be a part of that and you want to partake in the voting process, feel free to subscribe because you'll always be notified a few days before the stream, and you'll get to see what are some options to vote for. Doesn't look like there's too many bumps on the paws, so I'm gonna keep it fairly subtle. I'm gonna include them, but not too much. Looks so cute. Oh, thank you, Liana. Yeah, try to when I love just the way this tiger looks. It's so like adorable. It's kind of funny because when it first shows up, it kind of shows up in this intimidating vibe, and then afterwards, it like you realize that it's just kind of a derpy character. It's a little bit it's a bit kind of goofy, but I think that's kind of why everybody loves this character so much. It's just that it's a lovable cat with a lot of like cat personalities and traits in it. I was wondering if I should draw in the paw, but I think I will. I'm just gonna very lightly mark them in. but I'm not going to overemphasize them, because I think that's kind of part of the style. Is that what I've noticed in general? I know that this is a style study, so maybe let's talk a little bit of the style that's used in this movie so far, or at least from what I've kind of noticed, is that they go for very simplified shapes, even though I would say it's still within the realm of realism, and they still draw the characters in a very realistic kind of way. I would say that overall, the design is very shape-based. So if you ever look at Rumi's character, or even any of the other characters, you'll notice that they're all very, very simplified in their forms. So just like this cat character is very, very simplified in the way it is, the silhouette of it. It's not that of a normal tiger, or maybe it's because of that based on like the cultural design that is used in maybe this myth, but it's still very exaggerated, still very like stylized feeling, and I feel like they use that throughout the entire movie. The movie is very much not just going for hyper realism, but they're also going for these very big, bold shapes in the characters' designs. And so even though there's these subtle nuances and these bumps and then the flow of the dragon, or not the dragon, of the tiger, the overall shape and silhouette, pay attention to when you're looking at the character designs, you'll notice that they're very much based on the shapes of the characters, and they're simplifying them a lot. I feel like whenever the character designers had an opportunity to streamline the forms, they're able to. Like even this quick kind of simple screenshot here. Oops, not this one. Where did it go? This one. You can kind of see that like it's realistic, quote unquote, but everything's very clean cut. So it's like the jeans is very straight, very boxy. The sweater and jacket, there's not a lot of folds. The lighting's not super hyper realistic. It's very like simplified. You can really spot and see these shapes very easily. It's very clean and identifiable. And if anybody wants to draw or do any kind of like K-pop Demon fan art, try to pay attention to like how they're using shapes. They're perfect. That's a good one. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, they're definitely being very expressive with the 3D models. Definitely. Hello. Glad you're able to join us. And yeah, if you're just joining us, we're doing K-pop Demon Hunters kind of style studies. And in this case, we're kind of drawing, or I'm drawing, the tiger cat character demon thing from the movie. And again, no spoilers, don't worry, not gonna say anything about what happens in the movie, but this is one of the cat characters, and I just finished doing the rough, and right now I'm just kind of outlining and cleaning up the designs for the character. Yeah, I'm not going to include that. Even though he has a bump for the nose and he has a nose bridge, I don't think I'm going to really include that, because that would feel a little bit too much. It would make the lines a bit too excessive. So yeah, they did the nose. They did the nose kind of in this, they gave him like this curved shape for the nose. Now is where I can like really kind of go in and try to add a little bit more detail than I did in the first go at it. Still, I'm going to be figuring things out a little bit, so just because I'm done the rough and I'm doing the cleanup doesn't mean that I'm still going to be figuring out the designs as I go, because the rough only gives me so much information to explore and work off of. So I'm still going to be kind of figuring out like how they did the proportions for certain things, for like the eyes, as you can see here, in the mouth. As I have to go in and detail it, I'm gonna have to finesse it a little bit more and clean it up a little bit. Haven't seen the movie yet, but he do look cute. Oh, I highly recommend you go watch the movie. It's a fun movie. There's like great songs, the characters are awesome. But even if you're like it's a little bit, looks a little bit cheesy maybe, and it, I would say that it is, but it's cheesy in a good way, you know. We don't get a lot of fun, good, cheesy movies, and I like, you know, it's a new change of pace as well, telling it from the Korean side of things, and it's like a kind of cool side. It felt, honestly, it kind of felt like a Disney movie, like an old school Disney movie. You know, you got your main character, they have a little bit of conflict, they gotta sing. If you think about it, K-Pop Demon Hunters kind of feels like an old school Disney movie, with like the songs and the character tropes and the cliches that happen, or the story tropes that happen. But I feel like they did it in a way that feels very like modern, very like new. And this is not a dig at like the movie in any way by me comparing it. I just feel like after watching, I was like, you know, that kind of, it feels like a return to form in a sense. I was like, oh wow, haven't had a good musical movie in a really, really long time. And watching the movie kind of felt like that. It's like, oh wow, it's like an old friend in a way. It's like, wow, I haven't seen you in a while. Maybe drawing a cat was a good thing though, because I am not able to put as much detail as I would have if I drew a human character. I think if I drew a human character, I would have gone a little bit over the top with the details, and then we wouldn't have time as usual. So maybe it's a good thing. It's a blessing in disguise, having to draw the tiger character and not get to draw the human characters. And don't know if we'll have time to add in the human characters, because I think probably, well, no, we still got about an hour. We'll see. But how are people doing? Hopefully people's summers are going well so far, and that people are spending some good quality time enjoying their summer. It's been pretty hot this summer, so it's a little bit brutal going out, but luckily this week it is finally cooling down, thank goodness. We're not suffering in the heat no more. The temperature has gone down, thank goodness. Oh, okay. Pinterest is what I use all the time for references. Hey. The average artist's go-to. Honestly, I mean, like, you know, if it works. Well, right now, I guess they're in a little bit of like a tricky situation, Pinterest, but I would still say for the most part, it works. You just have to be a little bit more, pay attention a little bit to whether the images are AI generated or not. But other than that, I would still say that Pinterest is still a good go-to spot for references, especially if you're just kind of looking up photos of maybe like celebrities or reference images for movies like how I am. Then I would say that it's still a pretty good spot for references. I'm putting in the teeth, and I'm trying to keep in mind of the perspective because we are looking at it from a high vantage point. We're kind of looking up at the character. The teeth aren't going to come down too much, but I still want to draw the mouth as if it's open. So the teeth are going to be very, very foreshortened, and we're not going to see it too pointy. So that was something that I was trying to keep in there. And oh, you know what? I just noticed something. The teeth at the bottom are the ones that should be coming up, not the bottom. Okay, going to change that then. So much for spending all that time drawing it, but gonna put the teeth going this way. I should have picked up on that later, but that's okay. It's not too big of a deal. So I'm going to be going to Montreal at the end of the summer. So if anybody has been to Montreal and has any recommendations, feel free to throw them into chat. I would love to go to any recommendations that people might have. When I'm done with search for job, I haven't even drawn much these past 2 months as well. Oh, well, hopefully your job search goes well. And yeah, hopefully you get a little bit of downtime and get to watch the movie. Realizing that I might have to move this tooth over by quite a lot. Push it maybe like here. But then I realized that, oh, this whole area is just like the smile part that he has, so. And the reason why the teeth are looking really chunky is, again, just because of the foreshortening. So if you're wondering, like, why is the teeth not, like, super long and pointy like the other side is? And it's because the head is tilting more to the left, and we're looking at it from a foreshortened perspective, and so the teeth are just going to naturally look a little bit stubbier, in a sense, rather than the more longer version that we see on the other side. Something like that. This is looking pretty good. Is that in Canada or below the equator, Montreal? Yeah, Montreal is in Canada, just like what Gia pointed out. Yeah, it's a very interesting city just because it's in Canada, but is predominantly French speaking, and because of I guess just the culture and the way that it was formed, the city itself is very old fashioned looking, like very European looking, even though it is kind of like a city just like Toronto is, but then the look and style and design of the buildings and the architecture there is very much like is very much like a European city. I think we'll color in the eyes black for now, and then if I need to add in a little bit of a different shape, maybe we'll do that. I'm gonna shift the eye over just a little bit. So it looks a little bit off, but not like too off. Then we're drawing the eye shape that it has here. The eye shape is really interesting because it's very bulbous, I guess you could say. And so it's not like a normal eye, which I guess makes sense. It has a bit more of like an animal's quality when it comes to an eye shape. Now, because this change in eye form is not a very defined part in terms of like darkness or values, I'm actually not going to try to outline it too much. Might not even outline it. We'll see how it kind of like looks. So just trying to draw in the general eye shape that would be there. Has a little piece of frame. Yeah, a little bit. Excuse me, oh, choked on my drink a bit. Yeah, I think that's looking pretty good. So I think we're getting close to finishing up the drawing. Gonna add a bit of the spots, and then we'll color, add the stripes, add the dots, and then we'll probably start coloring it after that. But yeah, speaking of Montreal, if nobody's ever been before, I do highly recommend it. It is an awesome city to go visit, and definitely do your research before going there. The driving is not the best in Montreal. I feel like the roads are always under construction and not in like a... I mean, navigating through city traffic is never going to be fun, but I feel like it's especially inconvenient and terrible in Montreal. And I feel like no one, even like Montreal residents, are gonna be like, yeah, our traffic's not the best. But I definitely highly recommend anybody who's interested, go check it out. It's a great city, really like unique and different. I guess for a North American country, it's very unique and very different. Especially if you grow up in the big city that's more like Toronto or New York, then it's definitely going to feel very different. But yeah, trying to be very kind of just not too heavy with the dots, and kind of just more suggest the forms and the shape that is there. And that's why I lowered the brush size and not really trying to go too heavy with the lines and the markings that are there. Actually, I wonder if the body should be like maybe here instead. Maybe the body should be there. No, body, I feel like if cats and animals, they like kind of move down. But maybe I'll end the fur there, because I'm not too sure if the fur should go all the way, like the spots should all go all the way down. So I guess now I'm just gonna outline the tails then. And the tails have these really cool dark shapes and rings to them. So we're gonna keep that and have that filled in and darkened on the cat. It'll create a nice, cool kind of just contrast and form. Oh, okay. Got a nice question here by Silly Moth. How would you go about figuring out how to balance having good anatomy but still have it in your style? Should I study anatomy more or consider how my style works in order to translate it? I would say that I'm always for continuing to study your anatomy. I think a lot of sometimes, this was me too, is that a lot of your style is sometimes going to be informed by how you interpret technical information or knowledge. So, for example, how you go about stylizing the body or the head shape, that is going to be kind of dependent on how you perceive anatomy. So if you know how the body bends and how it can kind of fold and change form as it moves, and how you can bend the torso and everything, all of that is going to be dependent on your understanding of anatomy. So if your anatomy knowledge is really, really strong and really well developed, you have a lot more room and idea as to how you can push it. And the more you know, the more you'd be able to kind of stylize and push the proportions. So a lot of character designers, but it also, I guess, comes down to the style you're going for. But a lot of character designers have very stylized and pushed proportions. And even if you look at K-pop Demon Hunters, that is something that they did very much for their characters' designs. So I'm pretty sure I didn't close the file, the folder. But if you ever look at the K-pop kind of like the characters' proportions, they're very, very long. They're very kind of tall characters with very slender arms and legs and kind of Barbie-like kind of head shapes in a way. But all of this, even though on our side might look very, very stylized, it's based still in proportions and anatomy. But now they're able to kind of push it and like tweak things so that it matches closer to their own approach and desire. But I would still say that kind of do a bit of both. Obviously, if you only ever do technical studies, your drawings you might lose a little bit of life in your drawings and your line work. So I always recommend kind of balancing the two. Always still experiment, try things out, but also sharpen your technical skills. So your anatomy knowledge is always a good one to go for. Practice doing some portrait studies, practice your line work, practice your kind of hand-eye coordination when you're drawing lines, and study up on the torso and perspective. All these things will help sharpen your skills to a point where you don't need to really rely too much on like thinking about it too much every time you draw, because I do think that's also another big thing that a lot of people kind of struggle with, which is that when they first start drawing and your technical knowledge isn't quite there, you're more caught up on trying to remember like, oh, where does the torso go, where does the body go? But the more you practice it, the more you kind of will just build it into your muscle memory, and you don't have to think about it too much, and then you can just focus on the drawing part of it, experimenting, trying out different styles, trying out new approaches to things, and that way you kind of start expanding on your own style as well. You don't feel like it's just limited by what you're able to draw, but now you can actually focus on experimenting. And I think that was like a big part of my own art growth and development as well. Whereas just like beforehand, I was really focused on like, oh, every head shape's got to be like perfect. I got to make it look and match the head proportions that I've studied when I do like Loomis head studies, or when I do portrait studies. It's got to be the exact same measurement. But I think like over time, as I've drawn more and more, what I've kind of noticed and realized is that I don't think about it too much anymore now. And I think part of that is because I've drawn enough where I can kind of just wing it but I'm winging it because I've put in the work and the practice so that I don't have to really... So to a point where I'm not actually winging it, I'm winging it, but I'm winging it because I know where to put things and I know where to place things. And that's kind of the benefit of practicing your technical skills, is the more you practice your technical skills, the more it becomes kind of ingrained into your, I guess, your memory and your muscle memory and into your hand, and how do you like move your brush and how do you observe things, to a point where you don't really have to think about it too much. It becomes more second nature to how you draw. So I'm always for practicing technical things like anatomy and practicing your understanding of muscles and figures and proportions and perspective. Even though it's not the most exciting thing sometimes, I always kind of recommend it, because once you get it out of the way, you don't really have to go into it too much. Obviously, you can still finesse it and sharpen those skills even more and get more into anatomy and become basically like a doctor, have a doctor's level of memory of like in how their body works and all the different muscles and bones. Like, you can definitely go for that if you really want to, but you don't have to. But once you kind of memorize the basic stuff, you can kind of just work off of that. And but yeah, glad you found it useful. Yeah, style is always a big question that I think pops up. Like, it'll pop up for everyone at a certain point. And I would say don't worry about your style too much. Just kind of draw what you like, but also at the same time, work on the technical stuff. Work on like understanding perspective and understanding kind of anatomy. Because it's once you put in the work, you don't really have to go back to it anymore. Like, once you understand it, it's kind of there. It's gonna be ingrained into your mind, and you'll never have to think about it ever again. And then you can basically, it's kind of like it's an attachment modular that gets downloaded into your brain, and once it's there, you're basically going to be using it every time you draw, and you don't have to think about it. It just gets activated every time you draw, and then your drawings get improved and they get better and more refined. But yeah, always recommend doing the technical studies. And you don't always have to do technical studies. You know, have some fun. Do some of the goofy drawings that got you into drawing in the first place. And, you know, go back to stuff that got you into art, that got you inspired to draw. And it's always going to be a balance between doing the technicals, you know, the work, putting in the work, but also going back to what made art fun in the first place. Derpy, my well, glad you're enjoying the drawing of the tiger. We're almost done. I think the tiger wise, I think I'm done with the tiger very soon. I'm trying to see if I'm missing anything. I don't think I am. Yeah, I don't think I am. Other than the tail and then the bird, and then I think we're done for this cat character. This tiger character. Sorry, I keep saying cat, but it's a tiger. And oh, also a really big tip that I kind of had from like my professors in university is be inspired by stuff outside of the stuff that got you into art. So as an example, my source of inspiration was always like manga and anime, but the advice was to always go beyond what got you into art, because if you only ever look at the stuff that got you into art and you want to improve, and I guess this is the big part, is that if you want to improve, because some people just draw art for fun, and that's totally fine, But if you're like, oh, I want to really push myself, I want to kind of improve, then you'll want to look beyond just like the same things over and over again, because it's only going to get you so far in terms of your understanding of like what's possible when it comes to art. And it's always a good idea to go beyond it. So for example, for me, I love looking at architecture and typography. So even though I'm a character design artist, I guess first and foremost, I have a love for design and architecture and I guess environmental studies in a way. And I'm always keeping an eye out for like interesting buildings and typefaces and designs and posters and all that kind of stuff, because that kind of stuff interests me. The way the shapes are used and positive and negative spaces are used in letters and in design is always kind of like fascinating for me. And I'm always keeping an eye out for that kind of stuff, even though I know nothing about graphic design or typography. I mean, I know a little bit of it. I took typography in university, but like I would never like be able to do typography like as a job because I know nothing about it. But I love that kind of stuff. And a lot of typography and graphic design sensibilities, I guess, I like attaching that and applying it to my drawings. So the positive and negative shapes and the forms and silhouettes of things are kind of taken into account when I'm designing characters. So I learn a lot of like how typography artists or graphic design artists are approaching positive and negative shapes and balance and form, and I like including that as like a thought process for when I'm designing. But yeah, just something that like my professor said like a long time ago that I thought was kind of neat, and I was like, oh, that's a cool, nice bit of advice. Or even if it's something that you know, it's like a good little reminder to go beyond just the straightforward stuff that you're already inspired by, because that kind of stuff will always be there, but it's always good to find inspiration elsewhere as well. And Shiun Kim is kind of like a great example of this. Shiun Kim is another character designer that I love. He worked on like a lot of the Spider-Verse movies, and then he worked on what did he work? He worked on like Tangled. He started in Disney and then he kind of moved his way over into like more onto Netflix and Sony, and he's kind of hops around here and there to different projects and movies. But what I love is that on his Instagram, on his stories, he loves posting things that are just like not art related at all. So he'll post a lot of like design videos, or he'll post like dancing videos or kind of cooking videos, to kind of just show off the different sources of inspiration that he has. And it's never just only design. He includes like other things as well. So I thought that was kind of like cool. It expands your kind of, I guess, understanding and visuals that you have about the things in the world. And then we can't forget the butterfly. I guess I realize this is kind of a big butterfly now that I think about it. It has a bit of a Bleach butterfly vibe. Also, I realized I did not bother looking up what a butterfly looks like, but that's okay. It's not really the focus of this piece, so we can just have a very generic, basic butterfly here. Nothing too crazy. This, I guess, would be the blend between Japanese and Korean folklore. We can have the butterfly from Bleach. I don't even know what kind of butterfly that shows up in Bleach. And then we have the tiger from K-pop. Hey, there we go. There's my little tiger guy. Hey, doesn't look too bad. Okay, I don't think we'll have enough time to draw the character, but I think this is a good kind of drawing for coloring in the character. So we'll color in the character. Again, just gonna do it pretty flat. Not gonna do anything fancy or over the top. Ooh, Jin Kim, also a really great artist who worked at Disney. Also really great recommendation. Yeah, check out Jin Kim's work. He is someone who's just like so technically talented and skilled, it's so good. What opacity do you use? Well, it's maxed out at 100% opacity for my line work. But the brush I'm using is this ball pen from Krita. Actually, I've never checked out what the brush settings are for it. Density seems like it's kind of low, or like lower than, I guess, the default. But the opacity starts off really, really low and then builds up and ramps up pretty high the more you press on it. The size is the big one. I think I might actually up the size a little bit. But yeah, I love the ballpoint pen. Ballpoint pen is great. But I don't really do too much. Oh, for the references? It's not really too big of a deal. The references, I just have it at 41. I had it lowered just so that you can see this tracing deconstruction that I had for the reference image, but it's nothing too fancy for the reference images. Yeah. June. Oh, I said Shiyun Kim. I guess here, I'll write it here if anybody is kind of interested. Maybe I'll write it here. Shiyun Kim is a great Disney animator, but Jin Kim is also a great artist as well. Jin Kim is like, it's kind of cool because he's very technical based, and it makes sense because he was originally a 2D animator for Disney. If anybody's ever watched Treasure Planet before, that sequence where Jim is it Jim, the main character, is falling through the sky on the board, the solar surfer that he has, and he's like flipping around and spinning as he's falling. That's done by Jin Kim, which is insane because if you ever watch that, it's like, oh my goodness, that's a figure drawer's nightmare. There's so many poses, it's insane. But then Shiyun Kim is also technical, but he's a little bit more on the gesture side. So he's very, very loose when he draws, and it's really cool. And I would say that a lot of my inspiration in how to draw does kind of stem from Shiyun Kim. So I really love his stuff. I highly recommend checking out his drawings. But with that being said, we're going to color in our little blue tiger guy, and we're just going to use, I'm going to use pretty pastel colors. We'll see how this goes. Let's we'll go with the charcoal again. That's pretty close. Dang, I'm surprised I got the color down this quickly. Let's bump up the saturation maybe a little bit. Yeah, that looks a little bit better. Well, no, I kind of want to keep it kind of pastel-y. So let's keep it pastel-y feeling. Keep it almost feeling like it's part of the concept art. Like we could be like, yeah, this was part of the concept art for the movie, and nobody would be the wiser. I feel like this could kind of pass for it, I think. Sorry, that might be a little bit presumptuous of me, maybe. But I feel like I could kind of see this being kind of working. I love that. Love the enthusiasm. Yeah, I love Treasure Planet. Treasure Planet is like one of my favorite movies. I just also the soundtrack. Oh, you know what I realized? I haven't listened to the score in a really long time. The score for that movie is just it just hits the spot. The nostalgia in that movie is so good. But yeah, if no one's ever watched it before, check it out, and also check out Atlantis. I feel like those are kind of the underrated films in the Disney category or catalog. But I feel like there's kind of like a small cult following for those movies. It's so sad that those movies didn't do so well, because I feel like people now really, really love it, but it didn't do well when it first came out. So it's unfortunate. what types of paints do you think resemble digital paints the most? Gouache. Well, it depends on what type of digital paint you mean. If you are trying to paint something very flat and very kind of clean and crisp, then gouache. Gouache is good for flat paint application. It's not really the best for blending unless you're using real gouache, but if you're using like acrylic gouache, then that's great for very, very flat, clean pieces. I can kind of show you a piece that I did for today. Gouache me, yeah, I'm all about that gouache. This is a piece that I did today. It's been a while since I've done a gouache painting, but this is a super like flat approach that I was kind of talking about when it comes to gouache. And you can get these really flat, clean, I guess, applications of paint if you're using acrylic gouache. Real gouache, though, is good for painting and blending, and you can still paint very flat things, but acrylic gouache is really good if you're trying to do really like flat, kind of flat shapes, because you can get the paint to be really clean and crisp. Oh, thank you, Jaren. But yeah, gouache, I kind of recommend it. In terms of if you're blending, though, I guess also gouache. If you're going for a flatter look, then you can use acrylic gouache. If you're going for blending, I do think that gouache, like real gouache, could probably pass for feeling digital. But it also depends on how kind of clean you are not in terms of like your hygiene, but in terms of how clean you are when it comes to paint application. So if you have a really steady hand and you're very meticulous in painting it within the lines, then acrylic gouache is like great for that. But if you still need to kind of like work on your hand-eye coordination or just like brush control, then gouache might be a little bit tricky to jump into, but it's a great medium if you're trying to paint something really flat and clean. Your paint yeah, your paint hygiene, basically. How clean are you when you paint? Okay, and just kind of painting this flat as much as possible and making it as clean as possible. It's pretty good. Lighter blue. I kind of like the lighter blue, but we'll keep it flat for now. Actually, we're gonna color the whole thing in just so that I can have this be a base layer. So don't worry about the colors right now. What I'm doing here is the base, and I'm gonna use this to just kind of lock in the drawing afterwards, and then we can add the colors in properly. And oh yeah, if you would like to kind of participate in our Discord community, Jaren has very kindly dropped a link to join our Discord, so you can be a part of our community and stay updated with things like our live streams and our challenges, as well as some posts. And we also post tips here and there, as well as like other kind of like drawing opportunities as well. So Discord, kind of like one of the best places to kind of join for staying up to date with Wing Canvas. So if you're able to join us on Discord. If you're not able to, though, no worries. We still make posts on here on YouTube, so that's also like just another incentive to stay subscribed to our YouTube channel, so you get up to date on all the benefits that can kind of happen. So should 3 primary colors, 1 black, 1 white, be enough? If you're on a budget, honestly, acrylic is the most, like, accessible one. What you can do is kind of water down acrylic a little bit and put them into kind of little palette cups, and you can still get really flat paints. But yeah, gouache is a good one, and I would say like gouache is pretty good medium to buy, because they last a really long time if you use it sparingly. Mix water into it and it can last for a really long time. But yeah, 3 primaries is good. It will get you pretty far. You can even think of it as like, oh, what colors do you typically use? So if you're someone who paints a lot with blue, maybe it might be good to get a sky blue and a dark blue, like an ultramarine, and then get black and white, and then maybe 1 red and then or 1 yellow. You can kind of pick and choose. So if you're kind of like, okay, I can only pick 5 colors, you can kind of decide like, do you want to lean more into the blue or lean more into the red, lean more into the yellow, because that might give you a little bit more options when it comes to blending colors. But 3 primaries, if you want to have all 3, that is also perfectly fine, and I think that's definitely a good way to go as well. Okay, so we got the base color down, and so now I'm gonna paint in the mouth, or just colors in general. So we're gonna use very flat colors. We're not gonna do really any kind of blending or anything like that. We're just gonna keep things very flat and maybe pastel-y. Make it feel like this is a part of the official concept art that you might find in the art book, which I really hope they release an art book, by the way. I'm like keeping an eye on it every now and then. I'm like, you guys are releasing an art book? When is that art book coming out? Sony and Netflix? And I know that they do release art books, because, you know, they released one for Ultraman for Netflix. So I'm really hoping that they will. And I feel like they should, since, you know, like there's so much the movie is like, everybody's loving this movie so far. So I feel like it's only about time that they release at least the pre-orders for the concept art book, which I have seen images of, and like people who worked on the movie, and the art looks awesome. And so I would just love to just have it and add it to my collection of art books, and to just like study and pore over it. It's better to start with less colors. Oh yeah, for sure. This is something that I think like every artist, kind of the pitfall and the trap that they all fall into, or we all fall into, which is buying too many colors. And honestly, at the end of the day, teachers always have kind of told us this when I was in university. It was like, you only need a double primary color set. And so if you don't know what a double primary color set is, it basically is getting you get scarlet, red, and a crimson. You get a cerulean, I might be spelling this wrong, and ultramarine. And then you get a lemon yellow. Oh, by the way, a little update on my gouache set. I found my lemon yellow. It was at the bottom of the bucket that I store all my paints in, and for some reason I didn't see it, but it was there. And then the last one is deep yellow. So this is called the double primary color palette, because you are using only the primary colors, but it is you have 2 of every version. And this is a really good color set to kind of have, but it's like a really good one to start off with, because one, you really only just need these 6 colors and then black and white. So if you're on a budget, or like you can't buy too many paints, double primary set is always like a really solid one to go for, because you don't really need a bunch of those colors. Oh, actually cerulean, I think I spelled it wrong. I think it's cerulean. something like that. And it basically just mimics how the color wheel is kind of laid out. So basically you have lemon yellow here, and then you have deep yellow here, then you have scarlet red here, and then you have crimson like around here, and then you have ultramarine, you have cerulean, and that's kind of it. And that's all you need. So, and then every color here is based on how you mix the primary colors. So if I wanted neon green, you'd mix lemon yellow with cerulean. If I wanted like a turquoise, I'd mix lemon yellow with a lot of cerulean. If I wanted a nice deep saturated purple, you mix crimson with ultramarine, or if you have it on you, you can mix magenta with ultramarine, and you'd get a nice punchy saturated purple. So that's why like a double primary set is like the go-to. Don't really worry about like buying a bunch of different colors unless you know for sure you're going to be using these colors over and over again and you don't want to like mix it every single time. Then that's kind of like the only time it's like, yeah, sure, you can go ahead and buy like more colors. But for the most part, most people will be able to get away with not buying every single color. Also trying to get a gauge for the yellow that's used in the eyes. Somehow gouache talk has snuck into this digital stream. I know. I think you know what? It's just that we just had my first day of traditional illustration, and I ended up using gouache. So it's like it's on my mind. Oh, they use a, you know, we'll kind of go with like an orangey color here. Looks like majority of it is magenta, like this deep magenta color. So, gonna go. Should I go make it? No, let's dull it down a little bit. Don't make it too saturated. Yeah, we have a little bit of time left, about 15 minutes. Should be almost done. But hope you guys are enjoying the stream. If you are, definitely drop a like. And yeah, thank you guys for joining the stream. And hopefully I was able to provide some good information or help you guys out when it comes to drawing or painting. And if you have any more questions, don't be afraid to ask. I'm kind of here for a few more minutes, so if you have any questions about like how I draw, if I have any advice for painting or picking colors, let me know, and I'll try to do my best to answer it as much as possible while we still have some time. Gouache is just too cool. Thank you so much for your advice. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I mean, no problem. Yeah, if you end up buying some gouache and trying some out, definitely feel free to post it on our Discord, and love to see the gouache progress if you end up using it. Yeah, I love gouache, and if anybody needs any kind of advice on how to use gouache, let me know. I would say that I've been using it enough where I can say that I'm at least an expert on acrylic gouache. If anything, I'm an expert with acrylic gouache at the very least. if I were to be an expert on one kind of painting medium, it probably would be acrylic gouache. But yeah, if anybody wants some kind of advice on how to use it, let me know. Let's give it a little bit of like a deeper undertone of like ultramarine. I think that'd be really cool. gonna lower the opacity and just kind of lightly paint this in. Just giving it a light gradation pass. I could probably actually do this with the airbrush. Don't know why I'm trying to do this with like a brush itself. There we go. Nice kind of illustration, digital illustration kind of vibe to this piece. Probably could have also used maybe like a, could have used a little bit of like a gradation tool, but you know, it is what it is. Maybe next time. But yeah, this was a lot of fun. We're kind of slowly coming towards the end of our stream, so hope you guys enjoyed this one. Again, drop a like if you enjoyed the stream, and I don't know, maybe if you guys want more, maybe we can plan like another one in the future where we do more drawings of from K-pop Demon Hunters, and we'll try to add more to this like study to it. But up to you guys. I'm gonna add a little bit of like a glow at the bottom so it feels like he's kind of on the platform, like the glowing platform. But great stream to watch when doing art. Oh, thank you, Big Boss. Glad to also catch you here. I know I feel like it's been a while since I've last caught you on our streams. Oh, also there's a question. What do you think of an anatomy poser apps? Is tracing after you pose a cheating or for anatomy? I personally don't use it. I don't think there's any problem if you want to use it. The downside to it sometimes is that you can get up really on trying to copy the pose, which is not a bad thing. Again, it kind of just comes down to how you're using that app and kind of what you use it for. But I don't think there's any kind of problem with using an anatomy posing app. But the other downside to it, I do think that can come from using it, is that you might get over reliant on posing apps. And so what that might end up doing is that instead of trying to actually try to understand anatomy, you might get caught up on trying to just copy and trace the anatomy, like the pose or the model that's there. Again, there's nothing wrong with it, but you can kind of end up having a very stiff drawing maybe, and maybe your anatomy, like maybe it's technically there, but what I've noticed is that when people are a little bit too overly reliant on anatomy poses and models that they found and that they use, it ends up feeling kind of rigid a little bit. So anatomy models are really good if you're like stuck and you really need help, but I do find that it can restrict how you approach poses. So I always recommend that like use it as maybe like an extra piece of guide if you need it, and if you need a little bit of help getting your pose started, then yeah, definitely use a model poser if it helps. But then take a photo of yourself. Use yourself as the guide. Use yourself as kind of the model for the pose. I feel like when you use yourself as a pose, it makes the pose a lot more lively. And I always recommend that when you do use yourself as a pose, film yourself moving in it. A lot of people just tend to kind of just film the final pose and that's kind of it. But film yourself doing the entire pose and videotape it so that you can kind of track the motion of the pose. And this way the pose is just going to feel a lot more dynamic than just, oh, you know, following an image that you found, or a model that you found, or posing the model to match the pose that you want. But again, there's nothing wrong with it. It's just more of like depends on how reliant on the poses are you. I find that if you're too reliant on the pose, it can result in a very stiff image. But if you're like only use it sparingly, it's not too bad. Let me see it. I feel like this is pretty close to done. I think this is a pretty good kind of approach to this piece. I'm gonna do one last kind of just maybe might have to put a background behind this though. Let's see, how would it look like? But yeah, no, good question. Long story short, I don't really have a problem if you want to use an anatomy poser, but it just might end up making your poses feel a little bit stiff because of the over reliance on the model poser itself. So because of that reliance on it, it might end up making you rely exactly on like what the pose is doing, and instead of branching out and trying out new poses or angles or going beyond what is given to you in the poser, sometimes there's an over reliance on what's already there and not expanding beyond it. Okay, so let's see, we got about like 7-8 more minutes, but yeah, going to add acrylic gouache expert to your website bio. Oh my, I feel like that might be a bit too big of a statement. It's better to not trace. You want to be able to draw a person even from real life. Yeah, I think that's the other part of the question too, is like tracing the model. Tracing always, unless you're really, really good at drawing, but I feel like at that point, if you're really good at drafting and drawing, you might as well just understand anatomy and just draw it, just draw it from like taking photos of references or taking photos of yourself, instead of tracing over a mannequin. Because I always find that if you trace over a mannequin, even the tracing just looks stiff. It looks a little bit odd. But if you really need the help, then I think it's fine to help you get started. Oh, thank you, Big Boss. Yeah, I feel like it's been a while since I caught you as well, so glad that you're able to join. What's everybody's favorite Demon Hunter character? Mine is Zoe. That's a good question. I don't know if I have like a favorite, but I feel like I like all the characters. They're all like a little bit different. Zoe is definitely like a good one. Just like very fun, kind of goofy. Honestly, I really love the tiger from like the moment it like knocked over the plant and it was just like staring at it like, oh, what did I just do? I was like, oh my goodness, this character is too much. So I feel like I've always loved the tiger character in general, although I feel like that's a cop-out since I'm painting the tiger character, but I do like the tiger character a lot. Let me see. Yeah, I feel like in general all the characters had a lot of fun expressions that were a lot of fun to kind of watch. I came late, but I will practice later after the live ends. Oh yeah, no problem. I like the Quack Doctors. The Quack Doctor was also pretty funny. I think I have to go with Juno for my character. Favorite might be biased since I watched Business Proposal. Oh, is it? That's kind of... I knew nothing about... I think the only actress I knew was Arden Cho. And I was like, it's kind of interesting because, like, I would say Remy? Is it Remy? Yeah. Remy doesn't look anything exactly like Arden Cho, but there's certain expressions that she makes that definitely feels like Arden Cho. It's kind of hard to... I don't know if I can, like, really, like, explain it, but in the movie, there's certain, like, just faces and expressions and angles that the character makes that, I'm like, oh, that looks like art in Cho. But yeah. What's a way of catching bits of art style to bring into your own art style? Oh, that's a really good question. It kind of depends on what you want to focus on. So, for example, I said that I really love Shiun Kim's art style, and I would say that I've kind of had his art style bleed a lot into how I draw. So let me see if I can find him real quick. Since I would say that we finished for the first time. I finished early. I'm kind of like, wow, I'm done early. that's new. But okay. Let's see if I can find one that I really, some of the stuff that you guys might recognize. Here. He did a lot of stuff here for Raya and the Last Dragon. And there's some really great line work stuff that you can see here. So it's very loose, it's very scratchy, it's like still very precise, but everything is, it looks scratchy and it looks loose, but if you really look at it, it's very meticulously placed and drawn in. So I really love just the way he approaches line work and shapes and silhouettes, but also a sense of perspective and volume. Even though the line work is really rough and kind of almost in a way messy or very simple, but I think that's kind of the beauty of it, is like it's very simple, but you can still get a sense of anatomy and structure to it. And he's definitely gotten way looser over time as well. Like the way he draws, he's always experimenting with line work and strokes and brush work. And so that's what I really loved from his stuff. I love the way he approaches line work and how kind of unapologetic he is in a way, how loose and kind of thin and textured his lines feel. And so I kind of brought that mentality into my drawings. So it's not so much that I'm copying how he draws, but I'm more so paying attention to the idea behind it. What's the ideology that is behind how Shiun Kim draws? So if we take away the colors, this is, wait, where did I draw? Oh, here it is. So if we take away the colors, this is kind of how I drew this line. And so even though it doesn't look exactly like Shiun Kim and the way he draws it, it's very thin. It's very like unrefined in terms of there's not a lot of thin and thick line work. It's very kind of uniform and kind of just outlines it, but there's a little bit of texture in the line as well. And I basically brought those qualities into my drawing, and this was inspired by Shiun Kim. So it's not exactly a one-to-one copy, but I'm using elements of how he draws to inspire my approach. I think it's less so about copying and more so like how can I be inspired of thinking of a new way of approaching drawing. So line work, I love line work, so I'm always looking at artists that have unique ways or interesting ways of approaching line work. And I tried to apply that to the way that I color or the way that I draw. But yeah, that's kind of how I approach it. Maybe I'll just take off these images here, and I guess we'll call it here. Here's my little drawing of the tiger. And let me see, where's the rough? Here's the rough. Gonna maybe just eyedrop, or not eyedrop, but just kind of lasso tool this part. Oh, I forgot the tail. I didn't color the tail. That's okay. You know what? We will. I will do that afterwards, maybe off stream. But here is the tiger in the rough version, and then the final version. And I'm just gonna read the closing statements before I finish up the stream. So thank you everybody for joining the stream. I hope you guys had a fun time with this one. I know that I had a lot of fun drawing this character, and surprisingly, for the first time ever, I finished the stream early, so got a chance to kind of chat with you guys and answer some questions that you guys are throwing into the stream. But yeah, hope you guys really like this. And I'm just gonna kind of say the closing statements here. But thank you everybody for joining us. If this is your first time joining us, my name is Josh. I'm one of the instructors at a school called Wing Canvas. And if you don't know what Wing Canvas is, this is Wing Canvas, and we are a school of art nerds, and our mission at Wing Canvas is to make art education easily accessible to everyone. So feel free to join for free art lessons on both Saturday at 3 p.m. and Monday at 9 p.m. both Eastern times. We stream on Saturdays and Mondays every week, and level up your art skill with our community of art nerds. And we're more than just a YouTube channel. We're an online school of illustration and visual storytelling dedicated to helping artists turn their passion into income. A huge thanks to our amazing students and members for supporting our mission. We love seeing your incredible artwork and watching you grow in our classes and weekly critiques. And if you want to dive deeper, join our Discord to access stream notes and demos, exclusive artwork, art challenges, and more free resources to help you improve. So come connect with your fellow art nerds and get inspired. And also, we'd like to thank our sponsor for this stream, XPPen, who have an awesome selection of digital art tablets for both beginner and advanced artists. If you're looking for an affordable and reliable digital tablet, go browse their store. You'll find the link in the description below. So thank you again, XPPen, for sponsoring the stream. And I believe that's kind of it for our stream. We kind of ended right on time, which is a little bit new for me. And hope you guys, again, really enjoyed the stream. Like I mentioned in the closing statements, I will be posting these images afterwards onto Discord. And then I believe Jaren will be posting it later onto social media as well. So keep an eye out for our social media platforms, as you'll be able to see this demo afterwards. So I'll be posting this one, maybe post the line work, and then the colors separately as well. So you can kind of see the different breakdowns of it. Also, I saw someone say the hat. The hat's right here. It's just in perspective. I guess maybe I can make it a little bit bigger, but the hat is there. But thank you everybody for joining the stream. Again, thank you so much for joining me and making it a fun kind of stream to run. But yeah, if you just missed it, don't worry. The video will be going up later on as well. So yeah. Okay, everybody, have a good night, and hope you have a good rest of the week, and I'll see you next time. Oh, actually, before I go, maybe I can share who is streaming next. So on Saturday, it should be Iggy, and it's What If Our Mascot Was Real? And it's a beginner animal drawing. Oh, that's really cool. That's kind of fun. And then on Monday, next Monday, it's going to be Faye, and Faye will be fixing your animal drawings. Hat is an Easter egg. That's a good way to think about it. But yeah, those are the next two upcoming streams. So again, Iggy will be August 23rd, and then Faye will be streaming August 25th. So keep an eye out for those notifications so that you know when we're going live. And so again, hope you guys had a fun one. I'll see you all next time. Have a good week. Stay safe out there. Bye bye.